Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Let's go. So I'm a psychologist and a neuropsychologist who also used to be a corporate executive. So I have an inside view, having worked for a Fortune 500 company and also as a psychologist. So I'm going to talk to you about how do we actually enact change. Let's go. Next slide, please. So I'm going to tell you today, again, why resilience is integral to your company's survival and to your own flourishing. Talk about, well, how do you cope in a VUCA world? How do you bring that or change that uncertainty that you're feeling every single day at work? We're going to introduce you to the mindful choice strategies that were developed by Dr. Meyer and Dr. Robert Leibovitz. And we're going to talk to you about why is it that your corporate mission statements don't always work? And what else can you do basing goals and destination on moving yourself and your teams forward? And what does research tell us about corporate flourishing? All right, let's go. So first of all, you guys, we have to remember all business is people business. You're not in the shoe business. You're not in the car business. You're not in the oil business. You're in the people business. So as HR people, you need to recognize your own assets and also the assets of every member of your team. It's like you're only as strong as your weakest person. What is the uniqueness of your organization? What's the uniqueness of your service or product? What are the character strengths that you bring to HR? And how do you recognize and bring out the character strengths of your team members and your C-suite executives? Next slide. So one of the key aspects of building resilience in your corporation or in your workplace is you have to understand this concept. In order to enact change, you have to change the way you think. That's going to then change the way you feel and then change the way you act. So this is a fabric of leadership. You have to create a more positive, a more effective mindset. Are you able to change the way you think about your position? Are you able to change the way that your team members think about what they bring to your organization, what their purpose is, what the destination is? And the destination is not a mission statement. That's a journey statement or a statement that was developed by a consulting firm for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's go on. Okay, resilience in a VUCA world. You cannot think your way out of stress. You cannot think your way out of anxiety. You cannot think your way out of uncertainty, okay? So my biggest, I guess, letter in this VUCA world is the U right now, the uncertainty. That is what your employees are dealing with. That's probably what you're dealing with in your own job. It's what the C-suite executives are dealing with in a very volatile world. What's the opposite of uncertainty? It's not certainty. The opposite of uncertainty is trusting yourself. And how do you do that? Let's go to the next slide. So as Dr. Leishman said, resilience is a matrix. It's not just one thing. It's not just coping. It's these four things. These are things that are actually factors that have been discovered in research. It's coping. It's having emotional intelligence, knowing about yourself, knowing how you think. It's grit, that stick-to-itiveness, not giving up, moving forward. And then four, finding or creating, rather, meaning and purpose in your job and in your life, okay? So this is a great quote, resilient people. All right. We don't just focus on the problem. We say, what's the solution to that? What is this trying to teach me? What does this setback mean? How can I move forward from this? What can we do better? Next slide. All right. So as I said, you cannot just think your way out of uncertainty or stress or anxiety in the workplace. You have to do something about it. The brain is responsible for problem solving. The brain wants you to take action. The brain's meant to take action. So recognize, what is that default mode that I've had in a crisis situation? Do I freeze? Do I flee? Do I fight? Do I fawn? Okay. So we're going to just think about changing your default mode to one of inaction to action. Change your thoughts, shift your attention, change your direction. Let's go. Next slide. So here are the key points, and you can take a screenshot of this. It's about surviving in the VUCA world. Learn how to reason, not be reactive, be more proactive, anticipate, be more proactive, right? There are 3 things that you can control in your life and in your job. And no, it's not other people. The 3 things you can control: your attitude, your preparation, and your effort. Okay? Learn how to communicate more effectively. Identify where you're going. What's your destination? Learn about what is your motivation and the motivation of others. How do we get them motivated? Next slide. Ever feel like you're trapped in a maze? Ever feel like someone's moved the cheese that was in the middle of the maze? Who's moved my cheese? Well, what do? But next slide. Okay. So as I said earlier, it's actually about your destination and the company's destination, not the journey. Where are you going? Where do you want to be a year from now? As an HR executive, and that's a great question to ask your employees. What's the goal? Where are we moving as a company? Okay. So if you don't know your destination, where your destination is, you will not be able to cope or deal effectively with obstacles that come in your way. You'll be distracted. Next slide. Okay. So University of Pennsylvania did a study. Martin Seligman's group there, they looked at American corporations and companies over 200 years. Oh, they went back 200 years, and they found that these 3 factors loaded for flourishing, not just survival. You don't want your team, you don't want your company just to survive, right? You're not going to get a promotion as an HR person if you just survive. You want the team and the company to flourish. These are the 3 things. Your company and your team, they need to have agency. So that's a belief that they can enact change. They have to have optimism, positive attitude. The future is better than it is now. We believe in ourselves that we can make it better also. And then imagination and ingenuity. Does your company allow for imagination? If it doesn't, it won't flourish. And imagination, guess what? That also involves the ability to change, to have agility and optimism. The 3 factors are interconnected. Next slide. All right. So as you know, you have got to be stronger. Your brain has to be stronger than the emotions, right? So I'm not saying to deny how you feel, deny your fears, or deny your employees' concerns or anxieties about living in a VUCA world. Managing your emotions is not the same as denying them. We're not denying emotions. We're learning how to manage them and how to harness that power of the stress you might feel or the anxiety you might feel. That's energy. So we can harness it with mindful choice strategies. Next slide. Okay, so what are mindful choice strategies and what's the system? Basically, again, it's a system that shows you how to change the way you think so that you can change the way you feel and change the way you act for better performance overall. Next slide. So we use a process, we kick it off with metacognition. Simply, metacognition is thinking about thinking, knowing about knowing, okay? Thinking about how your thought processes work. Next slide. All right. And we use cards, we use visuals because visual anchors like these cards help the people we work with, help the people we coach understand the concept faster and more effectively. And it gets coded in their brain so they can think, oh, yeah, it's this card, it's this concept. That's what I have to do. When I don't know what to do, I'm going to deploy this tactic, this strategy. Next slide. And I think, Gerard, I think we have like 80, is it 88 slide, 88 cards?
90.
90. So when we work with companies, we work in showing them how do you utilize these 90 visuals, these 90 cards, and there's many ways that we do it in our coaching. It's a very exciting and new way of motivating people on your team to be more productive, to handle stress better, and also to find the solutions faster. Next slide. So one of the key philosophies and strategies is we go where I call it, I play the what, not why game. Why? Asking yourselves or asking your members, why are you doing it this way? Or why are you feeling this way? Or why are you burned out? Is not ever going to get you the answer. Instead, ask the what. The what leads you to action. So instead of saying, well, why am I feeling burned out? You ask, well, what is this feeling trying to alert you to? What's this feeling trying to tell you? You see the difference? And then you go into, well, what might I be needing? What might I be able to do about it? What's this telling me? This feeling might be telling me, you know what? I have a lot of knowledge gaps. So I just want to go back real quick, Gerard. Thank you. So when we coach and we work with HR people and executives, we go through the process in a much slower way and digestible way. But we bring in these proven strategies to get your team to think differently about what's keeping them back, keeping them from flourishing, and how to be better problem solvers and more strategic. Next slide. So, Mindful Choice System is a 21st century life-changing process of personal effectiveness, okay? It's based on 20 years of research and experience, more than 20 years, okay? And it's a system. It's a system that uses workbooks, visuals, sessions of coaching. We guide you through it. And the HR executives who I've worked personally using this find that they are now not only better at helping to manage difficult situations, but they also find that they now can manage yearly reviews, quarterly reviews with employees in a much better way by using our system. Thanks so much. And then if you're interested, please follow up with us, okay?
Thank you so much.
Yep.